Chapter 9. Ricky's Delivery Service. When Pam shouted for Zip to stop the rolling wheel, the collie's ears went up instantly. He seemed to understand exactly what the girl meant. With a bound, the dog flung himself against it. The wheel quivered for a moment, then plop, it fell to the ground, only inches from the glassed-in porch. "Zip's a hero!" Holly cried, dancing toward him. "Whew!" Pete exclaimed as he pulled off his ski cap with one hand and wiped his forehead with the other. "That was close." "Too close," Dave agreed. "Boy, what a smart dog." As Zip sniffed at the rim of the wheel, the other Hollisters ran up, including Sue. She burst into tears. "Our nice wagon is broke-did," she wailed. As the tears streaked down her cheeks, a smiling woman opened the front door of the White House. The children recognized her as Mrs. Wallace. "I saw what happened," she said. "Your dog did a good deed, and I'm going to give him a reward." She went for a giant-sized dog biscuit shaped like a bone, and Zip took it gratefully. "My goodness, what are you crying about?" the kind lady said to Sue. "You're the happy Hollisters, aren't you? Happy people don't cry." She laughed. "Anyway, if you don't dry those tears, they'll form icicles at the end of your nose," she teased. When Sue heard this, she began to giggle. "I hope you'll be able to repair your cart," their neighbor went on. After Mrs. Wallace had gone inside, Pete and Dave picked up the wheel and rolled it back to the cart. Ricky had located the loose bolt and screwed it on while Domingo stood patiently waiting to set off again. Zip jumped back into the cart and Pam led the burro home. Pete found a big wrench and made the bolt very tight. "Now the wheels won't come off," he said, and Sue and Pam clapped delightedly. The children played with the cart until dusk, taking turns riding in pairs down the block in it. As Pete and Pam were coming into the driveway, Mr. Hollister arrived. He laughed heartily upon seeing the strange contraption. "It's a pretty good outfit," he said, "but I'm afraid it's a little hard on Domingo. Better unhitch him." Holly grabbed her father's hand. "Before we do, won't you sit in the cart and try it?" Mr. Hollister put one foot on the step at the rear of the cart and pulled himself up. Instantly, the body tilted backward and poor Domingo was lifted off the ground. The burro dangled crazily in the air. He began to kick frantically and bray loudly. Even when Mr. Hollister stepped down and the frightened animal felt the earth under his feet again, he continued to cry. Holly and Sue rushed over to comfort him. They hugged and patted the little animal until he quieted down. Now the Hollisters could laugh. "Crickets, I wish we could have had a picture of Domingo the Flying Burro," said Pete. At supper, Ricky told his father how he wanted to earn some money to give a poor family Christmas baskets by delivering orders for the trading post. "May I, please?" "All right, but you'd better bring Pam with you. Come down after school tomorrow." The following day turned out to be a half-holiday in the Shoreham schools because of teachers' meetings. Directly after lunch, Ricky and Pam hitched Domingo to the cart, and Pam drove to the trading post. The store was crowded with Christmas shoppers. "Tinker put your packages over there," Mr. Hollister told his son, pointing to the rear of the store. "The names and addresses are on them." Pam helped her brother load the packages onto the cart. "Here's one that is in March," he said. "I'll ask Tinker about it," Ricky offered, and went to find the kindly gray-haired man. "Oh, the tall carton?" Tinker said. "That's an ironing board from Mrs. Ritter, 16 Beach Street." Ricky hurried back and carried the carton to the cart, which was parked back of the store. Domingo set off at a merry pace along the main street of Shoreham. People stopped to wave at the two children, and automobiles went beep-beep in salute. Let's go to Mrs. Ritter's and get rid of the big carton, Ricky suggested. A few minutes later, they pulled up in front of 16 Beach Street. Ricky lifted the long, awkward package out of the cart and carried it up the walk to the front door. When he rang the bell, a gray-haired woman answered. "Here's your ironing board from the trading post, Mrs. Ritter," Ricky said importantly. "Oh, thank you, young man," the woman replied. Then she added, "Aren't you rather young to be delivering such large orders?" When Ricky explained that he and his sister were earning money toward a Christmas basket for a poor family, Mrs. Ritter smiled and said, "Here, maybe this will help." She pressed a 50-cent piece into Ricky's hand. He thanked her and skipped happily back to the cart. He climbed in opposite his sister and said, "Look what Mrs. Ritter gave us, a whole $half. We've made some money already." "That's wonderful," Pam agreed. Then, lifting the reins, she said, "Get up." The burro had taken only 2 steps when suddenly Mrs. Ritter threw open the front door and called out, "Little boy, there's been a mistake." Ricky was a little frightened, but he got out and bravely marched back up the walk. "Do you know what you delivered to me?" Mrs. Ritter asked, breaking into a jolly laugh. "A toboggan. How do you expect me to iron my clothes on a toboggan?" Ricky was embarrassed, but he had to laugh at his mistake. He must have picked up the wrong package. "I'll go back to the store and get your ironing board," he said. Tinker, upon hearing of the mistake, laughed. "Why don't you deliver the toboggan anyway?" he suggested. "It goes to Mr. Kent's house. You remember him." "Oh, yes," Pam said. "He's the nice man who's wildlife editor of the Shoreham Eagle." The children had had a very strange adventure in his office the summer before. "Let's take the toboggan, Rick." Setting off again, the children delivered the ironing board to Mrs. Ritter and then drove on to the Kent house. Mrs. Kent was very happy to have the toboggan delivered so promptly. Upon hearing of the school project, she gave Ricky 50 cents for the fund. As the boy was leaving, Mrs. Kent leaned down and whispered in his ear, "The toboggan's for my son, Roger. You can keep a Christmas secret, can't you?" "Yes," Ricky said. "Then you won't tell him about it, will you?" Ricky promised to keep her secret. Then he joined Pam, and they set off to make the next delivery. Several people gave money for the Christmas basket, and when all the packages were gone, Ricky found that he had $3.25. He held it carefully in the palm of his hand, inside his mitten, so it would not get lost. "You did a good job," Mr. Hollister praised his son when he and Pam returned to the store. "And here's some more for my delivery boy, $1.75. Now, how much does that make in all?" "Wow, Dad, that's $5, Ricky cried. "Right? And it will go a long way towards filling a Christmas basket." Ricky was very happy as he and Pam started home, driving Domingo through the darkening streets. As they passed the town green, they saw a woman setting up a creche between 2 little evergreens. She was arranging life-size cardboard biblical figures in a shed-like shelter and spreading straw on the ground. The scene was beginning to look just like the manger scene Ricky and Pam had often seen in pictures. "That's a fine little donkey you have there," the woman said, glancing up from her work. "He came all the way from New Mexico," Ricky said proudly. "I suppose you're going to enter him in the contest?" the woman asked. "Contest?" Pam said. Before the woman could answer, she was interrupted by a man. The Hollisters waited a few minutes, but she did not speak to them again, so they drove on. "What do you suppose she meant, Pam?" Ricky said. "Maybe she's YIF." "Oh, I don't think so," his sister replied. But to make sure, she stopped to ask another woman standing nearby. "No, that's Mrs. Morris who's fixing the creche," she replied. Ricky inquired if she knew about the contest, but the woman shook her head. The children went on, discussing the unsolved mystery of the burro. "I'll bet it has something to do with the contest," Ricky declared. After returning home, he decided to go back to ask Mrs. Morris. So when he had hidden the $5 in his bureau, he hurried downtown. But the woman had left. On the way home, the boy paused to look up at the Santa Claus display on the roof of his father's store. How wonderful it looked, he thought. After their busy day, the Hollister children went to bed early. Sometime in the middle of the night, Ricky suddenly thought he was riding a fire engine. But he realized it was only a dream when he found himself sitting upright in bed. No wonder. First one siren, then another was wailing in the distance. Everyone else in the house was awakened too. "See how red the sky is over there," Pam said, looking out her parents' bedroom window. "Say, that's out in the direction where the Quists live," Pete said. "I hope our Christmas tree isn't burning up. Dad, may I call police headquarters and find out?" Getting a nod from his father, the boy hurried to the telephone on a nightstand between the twin beds. The desk sergeant, who answered, said that Cal Newberry was not in. He was on special duty at a big fire on a farm near the edge of town. "Is the fire on the Quist farm?" Pete asked the sergeant excitedly. "No, it's about half a mile away," came the reply. Pete breathed a sigh of relief and passed the good word on to the others. They watched until the glow in the sky grew less. Then Mrs. Hollister said, "Well, I guess the fire's under control. Off to dreamland, all of you." In the morning, they talked again about the big blaze until the telephone interrupted them. Pete answered and found that the caller was Tinker. "Do you want to speak to Dad?" the boy asked. "Yes. No, you'll do, Pete. Something terrible has happened. The Santa Claus sleigh and all the reindeer have been stolen from the roof of the trading post."